2024 had one of the most significant severe weather seasons of all time, and 2025 looks like it could be even bigger. So in this video, we're going to be doing a forecast on what areas in the United States I think could see the greatest severe weather potential this year. Enjoy. Now, if you've ever watched a long-term forecast, or especially a hurricane season forecast, you likely know that one of the most important things to look at whenever we are forecasting the weather like this is the ENSO probabilities forecast. Now, the ENSO probability forecast basically is going to tell us what temperatures are going to be like in the equatorial Pacific, which can have great impacts on what weather patterns we see here in the United States. Now, we can see right now that blue bar is skyrocket high there up in December, January, and February, and that means that we are in a La Nina pattern right now. As many of you probably know, we were expected to have a moderately strong La Nina this year, but that didn't really play out. However, we still are in a weaker La Nina, and we are expecting this to continue through early springtime. However, we then think that this will change over to a neutral phase for most of the rest of the year until we get to next winter, where we could potentially see an El Nino start to take over once again. Now, during an ENSO neutral phase, which we are expected to be in for a good chunk of 2025, we can see that typically brings warmer conditions to the southern tier of the United States, wetter conditions to the southeast, and colder Arctic air from the polar jet stream into portions of the northern tier of the country. But obviously, that's not the only thing that we use to determine how intense or relatively boring a severe weather season could be in the United States. Another thing that we have to take a look at is the ocean temperatures in the Atlantic. Now, we can see that we are right now seeing record warmth temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean, and due to global warming, that has been the trend that we have been in for the past several years, and this is only expected to continue. Now, one of the things that could impact is our severe weather season in Dixie Alley. We're going to have a lot more of that warm, moist air there coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, which is why recently, especially, we've been seeing such intense severe weather outbreaks down here in Dixie Alley, also known as the Deep South, also known as tornado hotspot. Now, as many of you know, what happens in the United States to cause severe weather most of the time is we see that cold, dry air pushing out from the Rockies as well as Canada meet with that warm, moist air from the Deep South and the Gulf of Mexico. So the fact that we're going to have warmer air down there in the Gulf could also lead to slightly more intense severe weather outbreaks in the plains, which is also an area where we see many tornadoes in the United States. Another thing that could do is mean that these storms produce tornadoes that track for longer, and that could push some of those storms further to the east. As many people have noted, Tornado Alley seems to be shifting off to the east, although I don't really think it's shifting to the east. I think it's more so expanding off to the east here, and I do think that we could end up seeing some more intense severe weather in portions of the Ohio Valley and the Midwest because of that. Now, temperatures in the eastern Pacific obviously are going to range pretty close to what we see in the equatorial Pacific. So if we do end up seeing mostly neutral temperatures in the eastern Pacific, that could lead to a near average monsoon season for anybody watching in the Southwest wondering what that could be like. Now, obviously, those aren't the only things that impact our severe weather season in the United States, but that is a good chunk of what plays into it. So now that we have all of that laid aside, as well as a few other things that we have not mentioned in this video, just for the purpose of keeping this a shorter length, we're going to go ahead and construct our severe weather season 2025 forecast. Alrighty, so we now have our 2025 severe weather forecast constructed here. So let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at this blue shaded region up here in the Pacific Northwest. And I personally think that this area will have a slightly below average severe weather season. Okay, there's nothing that makes me think that this season would be anything too spectacular. And obviously, we're not used to seeing big time severe weather events up here in the Pacific Northwest. But I think that this year in particular, it's actually going to be even more below average than usual. For anybody out there that's watching maybe in Washington or Oregon or Idaho, obviously, you will still get the odd atmospheric river event that could bring some significant weather, but severe weather, I think, is probably going to be on the downward trend here for 2025. Now we have the desert Southwest, and in my opinion, this season will be average. As we talked about, we will likely end up seeing that Eastern Pacific Ocean temperature remain close to neutral. Obviously, that will fluctuate, and that's not the only thing that impacts the kind of severe weather that we see down in the desert Southwest. But overall, I think we're leaning more towards an average severe weather season here this year. Now we move over to the plains and the Midwest. In my opinion, I think this area will be slightly above average. As we talked about before, we're going to end up seeing more of that warm, moist air there pumped from the Gulf of Mexico. And if we do remain here in a weak La Nina pattern here for a little bit of the year, more of that cold, dry air may be prominent there as well, coming out from Canada and the Rockies. So those storms not only will be more intense in the plains than usual, but they're also going to track further east likely, meaning that those storms will last further into portions of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley there. So now we move on to Dixie Alley. Now, Dixie Alley, again, all that crazy warm air that we're seeing from the Gulf of Mexico like never before, and also the fact that we've already seen significant tornado outbreaks in this area this winter, leads me to believe that we are going to have a well above average severe weather threat down here in the Deep South. Pretty much all year round, the Deep South can see severe weather. Really, January, July, October, it doesn't matter too much. We can always see severe weather down here in the Deep South as long as ingredients are set in place, and I do think that we're going to have those this year again, especially with those warm Gulf of Mexico ocean temperatures there. So again, prepare for some significant tornadoes down here in the Deep South this year. Again, we've already seen some significant outbreaks this winter, and I think that is only going to continue further into the year. Now, finally, we have the Northeast and the Ohio Valley. Now, this is a really, really interesting zone here. In my opinion, there are so many different factors this year that I think that this area could be a little bit of a wild card whenever it comes to severe weather. We may end up seeing massive tornado outbreaks like never seen before on the East Coast, or we may end up seeing a whole lot of diddly squat. It's really kind of hard to tell at this point in time, obviously, because we have, again, the Northeast as one of those areas that has a more summertime focused severe weather threat. So really, I could see New England and the Northeast and even the Eastern Ohio Valley going either way here. So that's going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. We do severe weather forecasts for areas all across the country and severe weather coverage that whenever these areas do end up seeing those massive outbreaks like we've been talking about in this video, we're going to be here for it, and you will see things happen firsthand in every community of the United States. So again, thank you all for watching this video. Before we do wrap things up, I do want to quickly thank all of our channel members. If you'd like to become a member, click the link down in the description. But yeah, that's going to be it. See you all in the next one. Peace. Alright, so everybody watching at this point is likely a regular Davis's Weather viewer, and I want to just get your guys' opinion. Did you guys like this forecast? Let me know down below in the comments section. This is kind of one of my first times experimenting doing these longer range forecast videos, and I know a lot of people on the platform are looking for them, so just let me know if you like this kind of video down below. But yeah,